today we're going to learn how to split a string in Python. So this is another super simple Python lesson. So let's just jump right into it. Alright, so we have a script in this directory that we are going to wipe out and reuse for this purpose. So let's just start. So let's say if you have a string. Now the easiest way to split a string is just to say split. There's a split function that will split a string up and return it as an array. So that's probably just about the easiest thing you could do. And actually I don't even think we don't actually really even need to create a script here. We can just write we can just use the Python interpreter directly, because we don't have any logic. This is relatively straightforward. So let's just launch this Python interpreter, and first string here, or first line we're going to put in here, we're going to say my string dot split, and split is the function. We'll split that string into a list. Now we actually before we do that, we should probably we should probably define a list. So let's create a list, or sorry, we should create a string. So my string 1, and let's see here, test 1, test 2, tree, rock, water. Just throw some random words in there, right? Then we're gonna say, let's just take this line from above here, copy it, paste it down here. Now we have this string with a bunch of random words in it, and we want to split that string up, right? So we take my string 1, right, and we call the split function, which is just a standard string function, right? And that's going to split it up, and we return the value from that into list, right? So hit enter. Now let's see what's inside list. All right, whoops, I can't type this morning. All right, so list. All right, there we go. It split each word in it up. It split the whole string up by words. So it's splitting on white space, right? So it split it up into test 1, test 2. You see how that is. Right now, if you were in a script rather than if we were writing a script rather than using the interpreter directly, and you wanted to print out those values, you'd do something like this, right? You'd have to say print list, but same thing. Any case, let's try this example from the document on the right here. Let's paste this guy in. And let's just try splitting this again. Now let's see the value of x. There we go. Same result, right? Well, different result, but same idea. It splits it by words, right? So that's all fine and great. Now let's say if you wanted something a little more complicated. You could split by something else. First, let's just try splitting. Instead of splitting by spaces, let's try splitting by dashes, right? So let's put a dash here and a dash here, okay? So, and let's try split, and you can specify the character that you want to split by. So this split function allows you to specify a character. So specify the dash, enter, and let's show what our result. So here we go. We'll notice the first item that was returned includes a space. It's not splitting on spaces, so now it actually includes a space. See how above here no space is included in each item in the list that's returned? This one includes a bunch of space, includes multiple words and a space inside this item that was returned. Same here. So it basically returns a list of 3 strings which can contain spaces, because we're not splitting on the spaces anymore. We're now splitting on the dashes. So we have one here and one here. So we're going to split by this string, and this string, right? So split by dashes. That's nice and useful and everything. That's also useful if you, say for example, you have like a CSV file. Like say if you're reading a CSV file line at a time and you want to split by by comma or something like that, that would be really useful. So for example, if you have something like this, z equals value, let's just say something like this, lname fname age, whatever else, basic like database lines or something, right? Let's just say we save these into a z. This is kind of like what you might see in an example database. Now let's say we want to split that. We might say x equals z dot split, and we want to split by comma, and let's see what x is. So there we go. We split it by comma. So that's how you might read a line from a CSV file or a comma separated value file. So say if you exported like a spreadsheet or something, or you had whatever values dumped into a CSV file, you're reading it line by line, you want to split one of those lines up into values, this is one way you might do it. All right, so the other thing you can do is you can limit the values, so you can decide to only grab the first 3 elements if you like, or however many elements. That's what I used in my example over here, only grab the first 3 elements. So let's try, so if you pass another parameter to the split function, you could say 3 to grab the first 3 elements and print out z, print out x, and that did not work as planned either. So let's see here, limit it to 2 and print it out. There we go. So yeah, so 3 is just counting elements 0 through 3. All right, so if we limit it to 2 in this case, we have elements 0, 1, and 2. I mean that's basically the limit on our new array, I guess. And lname, fname, and age. See, notice these 2 were just combined into 1. So yeah, this is going to be the limit of our array size, I guess. And after that point, it's not going to split anymore. So it's going to split out these first 2 fields, and this one is not going to get split anymore. So it's not like it's just taking those first elements. It's not like it's just going to take, lname, fname, age, and then stop splitting, and exclude the word company. It's going to just not split after that point. So here's another good example. So let's say if you have, let's create a list, or let's create a string, or I'm going to still call it a equals, now let's say we have, last name, f name, and then let's say maybe that it's a description, like this is a description with commas. Now you wouldn't necessarily put a comma in that part of a sentence, but whatever. Let's just say it has commas for whatever reason, right? Now let's say we have this big long string, and the fields are supposed to be this field, and then this whole big thing here is one big field. It's like the description or whatever. Anyways, say if we can parse that out the way we want by saying we can say b equals a dot split, and split on commas, and we can say 2 like this, and b is going to look like this. So there we go. We have 3 elements in b. We have lname, fname, and this big long description. Let's see. Let's show another example where take the one from our document on the right here. So put this into a variable called z. There's no spaces in this at all, just dashes. Makes it a nice clean example, I guess. Now let's assign the results. Let's split it and assign the results to x. So there we go. X is going to look like this. It basically splits it only one. So you got tree, and then the rest of these don't get split at all. It's just one big string that's included there. So maybe that might be a slightly more straightforward example. What else here? So all right, the other thing we can do is split using a regex. So rather than using the standard string function, we might want to split using a regex. So before we use regexes, we have to import re for regexes. So that's our regex library. So import re, enter. Now we might say p equals re.compile. We can compile a regex. You don't always have to compile if you don't feel like compiling. They can be used without compiling them. Anyways, I'll probably have to do a separate video on regexes in Python. So in any case, let's say we set a colon as our regex, really simple regex that we're going to compile here. And we say a equals p dot split. All right. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Remembering to put single quotes in the right places. There we go. It splits it into a nice list like that, right? So our regex p tells it to split on colons, right? Anything that matches that colon, it will split on, right? Now we say split. Now we split this string that we notice has a colon here and a colon here. It's going to split on those two items, and then we output a. All right, so we have test, and that's where we had our colon. Then we have 2, that's where we had the second section. Then we have, ASDF, that's our second, thing here after that colon. Now you could tell it to tell it to split on other things too, right? Like let's say you let's say if you wanted to tell it to split on anything that's a decimal, like this. Now let's see if this regex works. Let's put a colon 1 and a colon 2. Then here we're just going to put a colon that we don't necessarily expect it to split on, right? Now let's print out the value of a. Now this was pretty interesting. Notice here, all right, we have 3 items: test, 2, and this ASDF, and this includes the colon here. Notice it didn't split on this colon. We've changed our regex to equal a colon followed by any number, by any positive number. It's not 0 or more numbers, it's 1 or more. So the /d implies any digit or number, and the plus means more than 1. Either or it means 1 or more, right? Rather than 0 or more. So there we go. So for example, that will match a colon 1, a colon 2, but not a colon f. So it's going to split it in this way. So that's you get a little bit more power with regexes. They're really nice to work with. And once you get used to them, they're great. You might generally just prefer them. Now, compiling a regex ahead of time can give you a lot of speed if you're doing it, many times, like thousands or millions of times over and over. If you're matching like a lot of things, like you're scanning through a large file or something. So it's a little bit more efficient, but if you're only matching one thing and every time you run a script, it might not be so efficient. Now, you could just run this directly without compiling a regex. So say if you don't want to compile a regex. See up here we had compiled a regex and assigned it to p, and then we took that p object and we split it. We called split from that p object, and passed a string to that. Well, say if you don't want to go through the trouble of compiling, you can just call split directly from regex, and it takes different parameters, right? So from the regex library, you call split, and you can pass ABC. Now this is going to be, rather than compiling a value to split on, you just pass the value you want to split on right here. You can still use a regex or whatever you want here, obviously, but you're just going to place it directly in the function call rather than, initializing it like we did here. And then you can split this string however you like. And then you can say A, print it out, and there are our values right there. Now, let's try that with what we had above. So here, when we had split on colons, let's create another regex here. Or let's specify it like this. Instead of P, we're going to say re.split, and let's do the same thing we had before, :/D plus. So we're going to be splitting on a colon followed by one or more decimals, right? And we're going to split this string we specified here. So all in one function call, we can do the whole thing. So long as we imported re, we can just say re split and assign the result to A. Now A, there's our result from A. There we go, split just as we expect, just as it did above here. So it works nicely. So if you're only calling it a few times in a script, this is probably the way to do it. But if you happen to be, calling this like you're reading a gigantic file and you have to use this regex on every item in the file, and then you might get a bit of a performance boost by compiling your regex ahead of time and then calling split. So, worth noting, different ways to split a file. You can split it using the string function. You can split it using a regex. With that string function, you have the option to split on. You could just call split by itself if you're just splitting something with spaces, which is pretty common. And you just want it in an array really quick. Just call string.split. Your string name.split. Really easy. You can specify to split on spaces, or on any character you want. Actually, funny thing in this example here, rather than just splitting on a comma, you could have it split on comma space. So you have a little bit more flexibility than just splitting on a single character with the string function, right? So you could do something like this, and split like that, and then x is gonna be, it's gonna look like that. You're not gonna have extra spaces in there. So anyways, yeah. So we covered, the string function split, splitting on other characters, and we covered, limiting how many times you split it. And we've also talked about splitting with regexes, whether you're compiling or not compiling. So that covers mostly anything you might want to know about splitting things in Python. Hopefully you found this informative and useful. Hopefully somebody finds this video useful. You might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you know something that I don't know, leave a comment down below. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever you want to say, I want to hear it. So do leave a comment down below. But also, you might want to hit that subscribe button, because we have a lot of other more interesting content coming up. Now, sure, we have a lot of these, simple Python lessons and stuff, and a lot of simple stuff, but we also have some advanced stuff too. We've covered like Selenium, and we're going to probably go deeper in that. We do cover like threading and more complicated coding things. We cover other languages too, but we're also covering, we're covering coding, we're covering servers, hardware, software, electronics, Raspberry Pis, 3D printing, networking, everything code related, everything tech related, I should say. Just tons of great tech content that you might want in your YouTube feed. So definitely you're going to want to hit that subscribe button and probably hit the bell icon so that YouTube actually notifies you when we come out with a new video. But yep, that's pretty much it for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.